When I was asked to speak this evening and introduce our speaker, I thought, why me? Can't somebody else do it? Then the person who was asking me, who's sitting in the front here, said, "You're the employee that's been with Wells Fargo the longest." And that hit me. I'm the old guy. The guy who I looked at 30 years ago and said, how does somebody work for the same company for 30 years? So good or bad, that is why I'm here representing Wells Fargo of Mankato this evening. I want to give you a little bit on Wells Fargo Bank, and it has deep roots in our Blue Earth County area. Blue Earth County has a long history of banking. Banks were formed, moved, renamed, and merged together countless times, and Mankato's Wells Fargo Bank is no exception. Mankato's Wells Fargo started as Citizens National Bank in 1872. They were on the corner of Front Street and Walnut Street. 20 years later, Citizens National changed its name to National Citizens Bank of Mankato. 19 days before the stock markets crashed in 1929, National Citizens Bank became a member of Northwest Bank Corporation. It was a fortunate move as it helped ease the blow of the Great Depression by providing more financial stability. The Depression forced many banks in Mankato to close temporarily. However, National Citizens was able to provide regular service to their customers. The bank did close through the Emergency Bank Act of 1933 as part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's banking plan, but was not closed for any other portion of the Great Depression. In 1963, National Citizens Bank of Mankato moved to the corner of Hickory and 2nd Streets. At this point, the bank had a weather ball installed in the top of the sign that flashed different weather warnings. Many of you here will probably remember that. After 5 years at that location and almost 30 years as part of Northwest, National Citizens Bank of Mankato changed its name to Northwestern Bank of Mankato. Northwest opened its second bank in Mankato on Madison Avenue in 1979. Yet another change occurred in 1983, May actually, when Northwestern Bank became Norwest Bank. Changes meant new signage and marked the end of the weather ball. Also in 1983, Norwest began using the Cirrus Automated Teller Machines ATM system. Boy, did that change things. Which allowed people with cash and a cash card to access their accounts wherever there was a Cirrus ATM machine. Within a year, there were actually 2 Cirrus ATMs that were installed in Mankato and one in North Mankato. This new service allowed Norwest customers access to cash withdrawals without having bankers out going to bankers hours, which were 9 to 3 in the good old days. It was around this time that banks began working to develop a card to pay for goods directly from the customer's checking and savings accounts. Another thing that maybe nobody had forecast how big that would become either. In 1998, in June, Norwest announced that they were merging with Wells Fargo, and in 2000 the official renaming took place. Since that time, Wells Fargo Stagecoach has been in Mankato at least twice, once at the official name change in the year 2000, and again in 2010 when we celebrated the opening of our Wells Fargo location next to Kohl's. So that's a little history of let's see here. That's a little history on Wells Fargo, and I'm missing my sheet that I was going to bring up to give the bio on our speaker. But I'm going to remember it. John, you're going to love this. I'm going to remember this. Your guest speaker this evening is John Royce. John graduated from the University of Minnesota out of Minneapolis. John served as an infantry officer in the Vietnam War. I'm working off of memory now, John, so this is from 3 o'clock on an email this afternoon. John worked for Norwest, but actually currently Wells Fargo for 20 years before he left and purchased Lindsay Windows in 1989. John's business of Lindsay Windows has a facilities in Albert Lea, Minnesota, Missouri, Georgia, and Chicago. Thank you. I missed one of those. John is very active in the community, but John has a family. He's been married to his wife Sue, who's with him this evening, for 45 years. They have 3 boys, they have 2 daughter-in-laws, and they have 3 grandchildren. I think that was all the bio items, if I remember. That's probably good enough, right, John? Yeah, I know you well enough. That's good enough. The last thing I'd just like to say is that 25 years ago, John hired me at then Northwestern in Mankato. And I have a lot of respect for John, a lot of respect for him as an individual. I appreciated him bringing my wife and our children to Blue Earth County to establish our history here. And it's really an honor to consider him a friend because he has such a strong faith, strong commitment to family, strong commitment to the community, and he's really a servant to others. And I value that, and I appreciate the example you've led for that. So ladies and gentlemen, if you would please welcome John Royce as your speaker.
Thank you, Brad. We hired many fine people at Wells Fargo Bank now, and Brad was one of them. He and Kathy came to town, and it was just a great hire. But let me tell you about how I came to speak here tonight. I heard about this event here, Blue Earth County Bankers and Wells Fargo was sponsoring it, and I said, I would love to come and speak to them because the banking group has always been a favorite group of mine, and I just love doing it, being with them. So I went to Jessica and I said, Jessica, I would love to speak to that group. And she said, well, John, I've heard you speak, and you're not that good. I said, yeah, I know, Jessica, but I'd really like to speak there. And she said, well, yeah, okay. So a couple months later, I called her up again. I said, Jessica, I'd like to speak to that group. And she said, John, I told you. I said, well, tell you what, Jessica, I've spoken a couple more times. I've got a video here of some speeches I've had. I'm going to send that to you. She said, okay. So I sent that to her, and I called a couple days later, and I said, Jessica, did you get those? Yeah, she said, I did, John. I said, what'd you think? She said, well, John, you're better, but you're still not ready. I said, Jessica, I would love to speak to those people. She said, yeah, but John, you're just not ready. I said, Jessica, I'll do it for free. She said, you're ready. So here I am. It was fun watching the videos of the people up there. People I know, my predecessor, George Sugden and Norm Harrington, who followed me at the bank. It was great. It was great to hear the cooperation that people in the banking business have because it is cooperation and competitiveness. We cooperated with each other to get things done with the community. And there was competitiveness out there too because we would compete fiercely for the businesses out there. We compete for the deposits, we compete for the loans. And that's the fun part of it because I love competition. We love to win. We didn't win all the time. And we won a lot of times. It was fun to win, it was fun to lose. We always cooperated because we expect that. Because if we didn't cooperate, we couldn't advance the community. Because a banking business, let's face it, what is it? We take deposits, we make loans, we make investments. But the thing we do, it's not our own money. It's not our money. There's some capital in there, but when you put your deposit in a bank, you are saying to the bank, we're going to trust you that when we want our money back, we will get it back and some with interest. Not much interest right now.